This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Hello, and welcome to Body Count, the podcast where we believe history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes, and a proud member of the Big Heads Podcast Network. We're here to show you don't hate history, you just hate the way it was taught to you. Only rule when we choose a topic, someone, or as a lot of the times, like tons of people, someone's died. We give you the series of events in a narrative fashion, and by the end, correlate said story with current events. We, especially not me, our PBS Ken Burns or Dan Carlin, is so if you want that Hoover-esque just the facts, ma'am, history podcast, we can give you recommendations, so we are not going to be for you, i.e. there will be analysis, opinions, and just a reminder, it's not going to be a lecture. Okay, my opinions are my own. Know that today I'm holding the host of this awesome show. The director hate, well, still at her because we all know she is way smarter than me. It's said that tragedy plus time equals comedy. No, we are going to giggle at some occasionally rough subject matter. We are not actively trying to offend anyone. You have been warned. If you're good with that, I am the co-host, Bethany Skelton, bringing you a backwards body count, if you haven't noticed, with the one, the only, the almighty, the powerful, the glorious host with the most.
Jessica Manor. Don't worry, guys. I was listening to the final countdown in my head as you read that, Bethany, like da-da-da-da, doing my like dance to it. Oh, I was feeling it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I am, as you can tell, listeners, drunk as a skunk for this episode.
I actually have to like be the one that only sips here and there because I'm the one actually talking about shit and I don't want to lose my mind. Whereas usually I get to sit back and be where you're at. So you're welcome.
It's a great change. I mean, we've had so many guests over the last few weeks and everything else that we've both gotten to do it, which is why we love a guest on this show. We're just content to sit back, drink, and listen.
Yes.
But it's your turn in the hot seat this week, as it were.
And boy, am I ready. But as always, I'm going to do our housekeeping. Housekeeping. Yes, we are part of the Big Heads Family podcast. Just kidding. I was trying to be like Family Guy, and I can't do accents like you can.
No, I can't either. So it's probably not via good.
So we, as everybody knows and is aware, and if not, now you know, we are part of the Big Heads Podcast Network, which is a great collection of podcasts. We are super excited, so please go and check them out on social media at Big Heads Media on Twitter and bigheadsmedia.com. If you love the show, please go and give us those 5 stars on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe, like, download, just do it all. You can say whatever the heck you want about us. It's not to make us feel good, although hair flip, we don't mind.
Hair flip, we're not saying no.
I mean, we ain't saying we don't. I mean, hello, please.
Trust me, we're both massive narcissists. Otherwise, we wouldn't do this. But outside of that, it's good to have that, you know, that feedback loop of, we love ourselves too.
Yes, but, you know, of course, everybody knows it helps out on the business end. So to that note, our Patreon is up and running. You can go and watch us there. Sometimes we post videos, sometimes we don't. It's just kind of like our fun place to go right now. I mean, we do recommend you subscribe. It's only $1 a month, but I mean, everything is free at the moment. So be sure to follow us there, and we'll post and keep you posted on social media, and we'll let you know where to follow us there, but at the end of the show. So with all that being said,
all of it is done. Look, the house is kept. We have fresh towels, folks. You know, I've tipped the maid with like a nug. You know, I feel like that's probably the best way to tip your maid. Not with money, but just like a little nugget. You know, leave her something.
And how you know your maid loves you is when they leave a little chocolate candy on your pillow. I'm just saying.
Or don't report the weed smell to the front desk.
Oh my God. Okay, so I actually wanted to start today's episode. And I mean, you know what we're going to discuss and everything, but I have to say that I've kind of freaked myself out, which I'm sure I do that every time I do these body counts, because dig a little deeper and you find the truth of your history. Yay! So the crazy thing is that I can remember when I was a kid, the first time I went to Disney World, as most kids usually do if they get that opportunity. And I wasn't big enough for a lot of the rides. So one of my absolute favorite ride at Disney World, was one of which I could actually ride on, was the Tower of Terror. Do you know which one that is?
I do, because I've also been there. Really quickly, I want to ask a question to our listeners. If any of them live in Celebration, Florida, that's like a really cheerful version of Berchtesgaden, isn't it? Like it's like living in Hitler's like den, real Disney style, except for cheerful and less Nazi flags everywhere. But I imagine it's the same kind of thing. Can you imagine the homeowners association in that place? I imagine it's exactly like living in the eagle's nest. Yeah. It's just like a mouse-eared Nazi-esque paradise is what I imagine. I mean, because we all know Disney was into that shit. These were Disney-esque homes. This was Celebration Village. So when I think about that place, I think, oh my God, it's a relentlessly cheerful version of Nazi Germany, right?
Right. Yes. Well, here's the thing. The Tower of Terror was actually a show too. It was a movie. I think on like Nickelodeon. It was like a haunted mansion, and they get in this elevator, and it's haunted, and it drops up and down.
Dun, 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 dun.
Right. Okay, so this ride is actually, you're in an oversized elevator, and you go through many floors, and then you get out it through, and you go through the ball and all this stuff, which that will come up later.
Trust me, I love the Tower of Terror, man. You don't have to sell me on it.
Well, just in case nobody knows what it is, and then it takes you back in the elevator, and you never know, they're gonna free fall you. I wrote it so many times. I figured out that there was a statistical if I waited 4 rounds, I could get the drop that I wanted. I wrote that ride so many times. Like I finally figured out. I was like, dude, every ride is different, but if you so many, okay, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. Oh my God, if I get in this group, ooh, I love that thing. And looking back, I was fucking ridiculous. Like, how could I eat that shit up on a free falling elevator? Okay. It sounded like a blast at the time. Okay. But not if that happens to you in real life, which is what I'm going to be telling you and all of our listeners. And they will be different instances. I will go into one pretty in depth only, but I'm going to be giving several instances of different accidents involving elevators when they weren't the smartest.
An anthology of terror, essentially, which if there's more of an appeal to Disney there, I don't know what is, or Nickelodeon. But I did love the Tower of Terror, but like deeply ingrained in me because of the Tower of Terror, and not just because of the Tower of Terror, just statistically, I am terrified. So we know, listeners, this is my second greatest fear after heights, and I think heights really factors in to this entire scenario. Is that I don't take elevators, guys. If I can reasonably walk the stairs, I will. This is one of my very deep-seated fears, is an elevator malfunctioning and dropping me long-term to my death. It's the same reason I don't like to fly. I don't love it. I'm not committed to it. I'm not about it. And it's the same reason I feel the way I do about elevators. Like, oh God.
So, yeah. So welcome to hearing more about your ultimate fears. So,
I'm here for it. Hold on. Let me put on my seatbelt.
Okay, put on your seatbelt because
click.
I think that seatbelts could save lives in elevators. Just saying. So I'm going to give you kind of the stuff that I know that you love. Okay, just the numbers. Okay, instead of like So in the U.S. alone, there are an estimated 900,000 elevators, each serving an average of 20,000 people per year. Collectively, U.S. elevators make 18 billion passenger trips per year. The vast majority of these elevators are located within commercial, retail, or very seldomly residential properties with an average rise of 40 feet of like 4 to 5 floors. Each elevator averages, which we know there's a lot of buildings in the U.S. that are more than 5 floors high. Just saying. But the average apparently is 4 to 5, which makes sense between apartments and dorms and things like that. I get it. Okay. Anyway, each elevator averages about 5 people per trip. Now, I'm just going to say, when was the last time think back before COVID, you walked by an elevator since you don't take them. I remember being in an elevator and at least 1, 2, 3, 4 adults, maybe 3, 4 kids. And we're all in the corners trying to all fit so that we can all go up to our desired floors. So sure, we'll go with 5 people per trip.
Let's go with 5 people. But since COVID broke out, I've been in many a private residence that has an elevator in Texas, which I hate. Like, what the hell are the 3 flights of stairs, guys? Come on, let's do this. Which I almost always take. But I've been in elevators in private residence, and then I've been in a couple in retail, commercial, stuff. But the last one I was in that was really packed was probably when I was staying in DC right before COVID broke out. And then also, oh God, I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah. So, okay. So as you know, or if not, I'm going to just educate myself. There are 5 primary types of elevators that can vary in size and capacity, such as passenger, freight, LULA or LULA, which are the limited use and limited application, and personal. So passenger elevators can be hydraulically driven for a maximum travel height of 50 feet or traction driven for medium and high-rise architecture over 50 feet. Freight elevators are more durable and light on aesthetics, being able to carry heavy loads with the primary purpose of lifting general freight, carrying motor vehicles, and loading industrial trucks. Like I said, the limited use, limited application is in response to legislation requiring equal access to all individuals within multi-level buildings. Elevators are meant to be utilized by a smaller number of people on a light as needed basis, and they are designed to fit in a very small space. Home elevators are used as a solution for convenience or accessibility within the home, such as for people with limited mobility. Personal elevators are designed for limited use by maintenance, mechanical operations personnel in places such as grain elevators, towers, power plants, dams, and underground facilities.
Oh my God. Grain elevators, having grown up in West Texas, folks, are scary AF. Like it's horrific. But I would rather ride like an industrial elevator. I think the industrial standard ought to be the standard for every elevator. If you can carry a Ford F-150, that's the freaking elevator that me and my fellow passengers should be on in my head. But also, having traveled extensively and knowing that regulations are different in different countries, my real elevator fear started in Europe. And I don't want to say, oh, the United States is what the United States, but damn, get some regulations on that shit, folks. Like, be on top of it. That is where my fear began and ended.
Well, and we'll get to the reasoning behind that too, and we'll get to that. The thing is like, I completely agree with you on the industrial usage. And again, if you refer back to my previous body count episode on the walkway, Hyatt Regency walkway collapse, they changed the design because it was aesthetically pleasing. And it just says here that the reason why industrial elevators are not a thing is because it's not aesthetically pleasing. And people, for some reason, care more about what it looks like than what it does. And that should not be when it's carrying your ass to, 70 floors.
Exactly. If it cannot support a Mack truck driving on it, through it, or riding in it, I'm not interested. I'll take the stairs. God, can you imagine? Like, stairs is an old thing. I can at least get behind that. We've had a long time to improve the stair, if you will.
Yes. Okay. So real quick, I'm just going to say that there are certain, in all of these instances, and there's tons, I'm not going to get through them all. There's no way we'd be here for hours, but I'm going to get through these elevators are subject to defects and malfunction in these following ways, many of which can be dangerous and of course even fatal to any that use it. So the pulley system malfunction, or a mechanical breakdown or defect causing it to drop rapidly within the shaft. Okay, so these are the following ways: open shaft, or the risk of fall due to faulty doors or other failures to protect passengers from entry; faulty wiring, elevator control malfunction, or a risk of electrocution; incomplete repairs, maintenance, or inspections by unqualified personnel; unbalanced leveling and the failure of the elevator to line up with the floor; or wiring malfunction or entrapment due to the heat from wire or water from emergency sprinklers or hoses. Okay, so all of those things are basically that's the way elevators will end up in serious injury or death.
Oh, that's the only way. Well, that's a shit ton of ways.
It's like the new medication they present on TV. Health risks.
That is the anal leakage of like all industrial machinery right there. God.
Jesus.
God. I don't want anal leakage of an accident.
Yes.
And that's a lot.
Internal mass bleeding and hemorrhaging of the brain. Sure, sign me up.
Yeah, I'm with that. I want an accident that simulates encephalitis. Thank you. That is exactly what I'm signing up for. I'm like, do it. I'm so into it.
Okay, so speaking of signing up, because now that we've got all that out of the way, it's time to start listing the accidents that I have selected. It's not going to be, and if we get to talking, I might bring up a few stories I read here and there that isn't in my notes because they are just engraved in my memory. And I realized later, I'm like, I didn't write that down, but I know I'm going to bring it up. If you want to take a break, you can grab a drink because we're about to talk about some horrendous shit.
That being said, why don't we take a quick drink break? Because, woo, I am toasted.
Yes.
It's incredibly apparent to our listeners. I am toasted as,
at this
whole
point,
wheat bread.
At this point, I think you might need to put yourself in the oven because we are about to go through some heavy shit.
You're going to horrify me. I know, exactly.
Touch the surface on some of these. I'm scraping literally the Dr. Sugg said about 2 episodes ago about the scraping of feces basins.
Excellent. You're going to scrape the chamber pot, if you will, of human fear.
Yep. You thought you wanted to take the elevator. Nope. Okay, so now that we've all buckled ourselves in and we've readjusted and gotten ready, I'm going to through some of the things, like I said, that stood out to me that I felt were more intense than others. Not that they weren't intense, because they were all death by elevators that are intense. Period. Okay. So this is what I found. Okay, on 14th December 1883, it's actually one of the earliest documented elevator accidents. A 15-year-old boy was decapitated by an elevator at a furniture warehouse in Baltimore, Maryland. Okay.
I feel like that could happen today in Baltimore, Maryland, though, and people wouldn't be too upset.
And honestly, it's the earliest documented series and there's not a whole lot of information because it's 1883. Okay. And the thing is that decapitation is actually a reoccurring thing that I found in this research. Okay.
Good, because that's how I want to go. Just like Anne Boleyn in a suspended metal box. What joy. Fuck.
You say that you stay alive after the decapitation for a few minutes, right? Or a few seconds or something like that. Isn't that true?
Like a chicken, supposedly. I don't know that there's any actual decapitated. I don't know that there's any neuro mapping that maintains that. I think maybe your ocular nerves continue to work, but I doubt the brain is processing once severed from the spinal cord.
Yeah.
It's like a chicken's not actually alive, which if you've never seen a chicken, let me tell you, folks, it is an adventure. I grew up in the wilds of West Texas. Let me tell you, it's a fucking adventure that you will not soon forget.
Amen. Okay, so then moving on from that one, it's very, very short and sweet because, again, not a whole lot, and I didn't really want to dive into that one particularly. Up next is the one we have actually discussed many episode ago.
Is this the one where I defamed a war hero for flying low in Midtown Manhattan through fog?
Yes.
Oh, good. Good. Yes. I'm glad we've reached that part of the story. Okay.
So a refresher, on July 28th, 1945, a U.S. Army that, like you said,
veteran of World War II,
all that in that jazz, he crashed his plane into the Empire State Building in New York because of fog, and he was flying low, and he was an idiot. So,
essentially, see our previous episode. You'll know why.
Yes,
it's a bit nonsensical, but go on.
Anyway, causing the elevator that was there to fall 75 stories, more than 300 meters or 1,000 feet. Elevator operator Betty Lou Oliver, sweet little lady, she was injured but survived, and it remains the Guinness World Record for longest fall survived in an elevator. Now this story makes me happy and sad all at once, because
no, she was fucked up afterward, severely injured, but she did survive. Again, see our previous episode.
Don't worry, Jessica. She still holds the Guinness World Record, and that should be something.
How would you? What a way to live your life. Yes, I am the Guinness World Record holder for massive ass elevator fall, and I did survive. Never mind that multiple bones were broken. There's the terror and PTSD I have to live through. Never mind that. Okay. I think she found love, if I'm not correct, based on that fact, is what we talked about. Or I may be making that up. I don't know, folks. That's been so dismissed from my mind so long ago. Who freaking knows? But also, just so you know, at one point, she literally reached I'm not going to get into physics. Let's put it this way. She was floating at one point from the speed she's falling, as if she's something angelic from Supernatural, right? She's levitating. Like the brothers Winchester might have stabbed her on accident. Sorry, my kid's really into Supernatural these days. And so now I'm going through it. And that's how I view everything through my lens currently.
Okay, so this next one is a biggie. Okay. I'm gonna just start it out and we'll rip it off like a band-aid and then we'll move on. So we all know what happened on 9/11, 2001. What they don't talk about is what happened to the elevators in those buildings. So when the two hijacked planes were flown into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, they caused severe damage to the elevator system, which had 198 elevators in total. Elevator shafts also channeled burning jet fuel throughout both towers. Some elevators fell when their cables were severed, while others were engulfed in flames or stuck until the buildings collapsed. And here's the biggie. They don't actually know. It's an estimated between 200 and 400 people died. Okay. Most of whom were in what they called express elevators that went from the ground floor to the 78th floor sky lobbies or in the elevators near the top floor. So, and we all know where those planes hit. So what we do know is at least 21 people were trapped but managed to escape. And 8 others survived because the doors happened to be open. So at the time of the crash, they just happened to be open, and when they complete, because they shut down, like they just and
No, you don't say a jet plane smashing into a building shuts down elevators.
Yeah. I mean, but it did say that at least one of those who survived was in a burning elevator, and that caused burns over 40% of his body. So at least he survived. Like honestly, in this show and in this podcast that we do, I do question the survivors. Like, would you really want to survive that? Like, I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't know if I would want to choose death. Like, obviously, I don't know if I could because I'm not in that situation. But goddamn, fuck that.
Right? It 100%. From what I understand about burn victims, it's about where over their body they're burned and percentage of what sections of their body are burned. Like they know who will survive and who won't that come into burn units. But FYI, listeners, it's for little tidbits like this. I know you've asked 1,000 times. I get them in my email for us to cover 9/11. I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to do it. One, it's horrific.
And
too fresh and way too fresh.
Yeah, and sorry, Jess, but I actually quite frankly remember being in grade school, or not grade school, middle school. Honestly, I was young.
We weren't in grade school. We were in the 8th and 9th grade.
Regardless, it's one of those things where I remember the cameras going, oh, what's coming out of the buildings? Like after it all happened. And they're like, is that debris? And they zoomed in and it wasn't debris. It was people jumping because they'd rather.
It's horrific.
So no,
it's horrific. I never want to cover that. And furthermore, no one can do it better than last podcast on the left did it.
Well,
in my opinion, why would I do it when last podcast on the left nailed it? They were the perfect mix of both comedy, seriousness. It's the same reason I'm not going to do Waco or the Oklahoma City bombings.
It's a little close to the heart.
Too fresh, too close to the heart. And also, last podcast already did it perfectly. Why would I do anything else?
Right.
So,
well, and I put that in here just because it is one of the biggest elevator tragedies on record. So, but moving on, I do want to move on because we don't
talk about it. Let's go on.
Anyway, so the next up, I'm gonna give like basically a couple just little tidbits here before I go into a little deeper depth, and you'll see why. So on August 31st. August 31st, 1987, a methane gas explosion happened at the St. Helena gold mine. And are you sneezing?
No, I'm trying not to laugh at methane gas. I'm sorry. It was just the cheapest fart joke in the world. Please go on. This is a serious thing.
I'm trying to be serious, Jessica. I seriously thought, I was like, oh my God.
Bethany, the entirety of my existence is biting back lame jokes that I want to make about shit. So please start again.
Sorry.
And go on.
Okay,
but
so
you do have death by farts almost in this case. So I'm sorry. I apologize. Go on. Earth farts. Okay. God damn it.
So on August 31st, 1987, 1987. Oh my God. Fart gas explosion at the St. Helena gold mine in Welcome, South Africa.
This is serious. Focus up. Okay.
Real, because is okay. So because of the explosion, the cable of a double-decker elevator severed. Okay. Why am I laughing?
I'm sorry. You mentioned methane gas and double decker inside of a couple of freaking sentences. I'm so sorry. I'm a child. I'm
like crying right now. Okay.
Oh God, I'm the worst person ever. Okay.
Because a lot of people died. Okay, because it fell.
Well, it was a double decker, right? Okay. Shit. Okay. Last one.
It fell.
Tell it.
1.4 kilometers to the bottom of the mine shaft.
Fuck.
Yeah, killing all 52 people on board. Okay.
Well, I'd say so. Like everybody on that's like the that's like the same odds of surviving the Challenger at that point. Like, right? How many? Oh my God. The terror.
10 others who were not in the elevator were killed in the explosion. That's how big it was.
Oh, I believe it was a big explosion, but if there was ever a real Tower of Terror, it's that one. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable. I'm sorry. And also a child. Like, oh God. She mentioned methane and double decker, and I'm just done. No. That is horrific. Can you think about that fall time?
No.
And like, of course, they're all pressed up against the top, right? Because of, our friend physics, that I'm not going to talk about the mathematics behind, but Jesus fucking Christ. How horrific.
Yeah. Okay, so this next one is crazy as well. On May 10th, 1995, so we are actually in our time era here. A locomotive, also in South Africa, Orkney, I think is how you say it, crashed through a safety barrier and fell into a mine shaft.
This is why blood diamonds are the worst. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
Oh God. I'm going straight to hell. Okay. Sorry. Back up. Tell the story again.
Yes, because it ended up hitting an elevator, which just happened to be carrying 104 workers. And it caused it to plunge to the shaft. So you're welcome. What a way.
That's a law of large numbers. Like, fuck off. A train accident into an elevator.
In a mine shaft.
At a mine shaft.
That just sounds like, why didn't you come to work? Like, why didn't you come home from work today? Well, you see, dear, I was in the mine shaft on my merry way when a train flew through the sky.
Like, right? Why Kubrick never made that movie, and like why Eli Roth never revived it like, that's pretty simple math right there. A train slamming into an elevator shaft. Jesus Christ, that's horrific. Ugh, this is why I hate elevators. Okay, go on.
Okay, next one. This one is in St. Louis, Missouri on January 13th, 1904. So going back in time. A crowd of employees at a brown shoe company factory was waiting for the elevator when someone raised the gate, causing 10 people to fall down the shaft. At least 8 people were killed. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Okay, so just because somebody raised the gate, people are just going to be like, oh.
And step off into air. And step off into air yet again. Oh, God, that's horrific.
Yes. So then the next one, I'm going to just go through some of these. I'm not going to deep dive into it. It's coming up. But so on May 15th, this is also in our time era. This is when we come full circle, okay, on the very first reported incident. On May 15th, 2013, a 24-year-old nurse was decapitated by an elevator at a hospital in China. As she tried to exit the elevator on the 3rd floor, it suddenly plunged down to the building's basement and caught her between the doors. 11 other people were trapped inside, tried to free the woman, but it was too late.
Oh.
The elevator, when they were being rescued shortly after the gruesome incident, they had to sit in the elevator
with a decapitated body.
Yes, that is correct.
If that's not the most metal as fuck thing you've ever heard in your life, I dare you, Sweden, to make death metal of that caliber. Oh my God, that's horrible.
I'm about to blow your mind even more because this isn't the only incident that I found. I read on several occasions.
Well, of course it's not. It wouldn't be this show if that was a one-off. Exactly. All right.
So what happens is for in this instance, she was decapitated. Imagine being severed down the middle because they are stepping off, and as it falters and malfunctions, it cuts them right down the middle because of literally the way they are positioned. Boom. And there have been stories that I've read about people on the inside of the elevator with half of somebody's body. Now,
Jesus Christ, that's some Hannibal Lecter shit right there.
Exactly. And this is what I say again. Do I want to be a survivor? Do I really want to survive? Death take me now because traumatic.
Sweet Jesus. Also, folks, and I'm speaking to all of you out there that have annoyed me previously, don't fucking dwaddle. Get out.
Yeah.
Jump out of the elevator. Move quickly.
Ding, 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 ding. Don't ask, don't you just go.
Especially those that have a wider stance on the world, if you will. Get through.
Okay. So now we've come up to the incident where I'm going to do a little bit of more I'm going to set the stage for you, I guess. Okay. I've decided on this one a little more information just because of.
Wait a minute. Are we doing a set change so it's in the dark and everybody's going to see the set tape and you're changing the scenery, right? You're doing that to me.
I am. Okay.
Verbally. Let's do it.
The reason why I picked it is, like I said, it's because of where it happened at. Okay, so I'm taking you back. We're going back to 1903, the good old days.
You mean those pre-regulation days? What magic?
The magic and the beauty. And it's May 22nd. And where are we? We are over at the Pennsylvania Electric Mechanical Institute. That is where we are.
Well, if that's not a goddamn slap in the face through the course of this story, I don't know what is. See, there you go. You STEM assholes. You're not the smartest people in the world, obvi.
Engineers.
Just notice, engineers, that it's in your actual institute. It's not, at the College of Arts or Humanities. Oh, the humanities.
Okay, so the employees and students of the institute had cleared.
I apologize.
Stop,
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to.
Okay, get into it. Get into it.
Okay, so like I said, all the people they had cleared all the floors out and they sent out large number of invitations for a ball, which was to be held that evening. So, I mean, again, 1903, what else are we going to do? Have balls. Hello, I'm here for it. Okay. So the fifth floor was devoted to dancing, while the sixth was arranged for a dining and cloakroom. So the guests were first taken to the sixth floor to put their stuff, and then they were taken down to the fifth to then enjoy the festivities. I get it, doesn't make sense to me, but whatever, what do I know? So there was probably about 700 plus people in the hall at 10 p.m. when the elevator started, like it had started with at the first floor. They loaded 17 people in the elevator. The elevator itself had just reached that floor, the sixth floor, to take their coats and then go to, which they'd already made several trips at this point. Like um when there was like a crash and like it just fell to the bottom. And I don't mean like to the bottom of the first floor. I mean through the first floor and into the basement. Like, it's not like in the movies. Like it crashed through the floor. Like it kept going, like straight.
Yeah,
to the
it falls into the goddamn earth. It's not a movie. It's that makes me want to barf.
Right, and here's the thing: is not one of the 17 occupants escaped any kind of injury or death, even. But I mean, and there was actually reports of individuals who weren't even in the elevators who witnessed it with some sort of emergency, like trauma or that kind of thing, like because it was so fucking horrendous. Okay, so the two,
so like they're just there and it drops.
Yes,
what you're.
And really, the most people that got the full brunt of it was the ones waiting in the hall because it crashed through the first floor, which is the main floor. Everybody's standing there
and
waiting.
Then all that dust explodes up through all. Oh my God.
It's just, yeah. So the two heavy weights, each weighing a ton, fell onto the victims after the elevator had reached the bottom. Okay.
Good. Yeah. I want to include that.
Make sure that it gets really smushed. Like we got to it's going to crash.
We can't have the horrific like fall and crush injuries that are going to be on. Let's go ahead and add 2 1-ton weights to it. Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Yeah. So the dead were obviously terribly crushed, and it was some time before they were identified, even to the point where they were so mangled and broken that they were trying to identify these people by their clothing, like what they were wearing. And then, even then, they had to wait a bit for loved ones to be like, oh my God, they haven't come home, and they go there, or I know that they went there. Like that's how badly they could not be recognized. Like
that's how mangled the remains.
And we've talked about makeshift morgues. We've talked about this thing. It's just, burning buildings or explosions or things like that.
It's usually in the context of triangle shirtwaists, not like everybody's going to hang out and then boom, instant morgue.
Right. And it just, so the accident, which again, after they did all this, they found out that the accident is attributed to the overloaded elevator and a new elevator man who did not know or understand his business. So of course we're blaming the people. What else in body count nature would we be doing right now? Of course we're blaming, well, they overloaded it and the guy didn't know what he was doing, so it's their fault. Look, is everybody, are we going to really do that? Because yes, there shouldn't have been 17 people, but maybe, just maybe, if you know you're going to have 700 plus people coming to an event, you would have a different view in mind I get why you're trying to be all
You
fancy.
know, maybe
But
5 or 6 a trip. Like, it's not going to end within
Right.
that time period.
But I'm sorry, but we're at the Pennsylvania Electric Mechanical Institute. Or I don't know what they had back then. You would be able to tell me, but come on now. Like, Jesus.
They could more than do enough math for that, you would think. Especially at that time.
Understand mathematics and statistics. Look at where we are, but no.
No, but that's just a basic problem of addition, right? Pay attention to those weight capacities, folks.
I mean, it is a real fucking thing. So here's the thing. When the noise of the elevator crashing, so could you imagine the elevator crashing just to the ground? People on the 5th floor in the dance, there was a dance going on. They heard what happened. They could hear what happened, and during I kind of get confusion, but it's just like, what the fuck? They decided. Sorry. Wildest confusion followed, and a series barely averted because some women decided to rush to the open elevator shaft and were ready to jump down. Why? Why? To help?
Sweet Jesus. What are you going to do? Scale it like you're fucking Laura Croft?
Oh, I was going to say Spider-Man and Laura Croft is more fitting. Whatever.
Oh, God, yeah. Are you going to shoot your spider webs and come on down?
I commend you for wanting to help, but damn. So apparently several of the men who actually remained calm, which thank God in this situation. I don't normally
like for once, this era of, oh, I am a man, I am calm.
Right. Well, crashed before them and closed the gates. Because remember, we're talking old school elevators here. It's not our state-of-the-art ones that we've got now.
Yeah, you had to close the gate as if one would in shittier hotels all over Europe.
Mm-hmm. So then, by main force, they shoved the panic-stricken people back into the ballroom and closed the doors. It was nearly impossible. I said that that they were able to be identified, but the sheer fact of the matter is just like how the fact that people were just like, let me add logic to this and jump down.
Let me shimmy on down. Let me free fall to the basement.
Yes, to help the crushed by ton. Sure, but but in the 17 that were in the elevator,
they're all dead.
Nope, 4 only died.
What?
Yep, the rest had some serious injuries, like amputated legs
or like hip into chest cavity, whatever goes with that. Well, I'm impressed with the medicine of the time, though. Damn.
Yeah. So only 4, but and then there was also reports, like I said earlier, of other emergencies that were from that incident, but they were not in the elevator. It was just due to the fainting, and
sweet Jesus.
Trauma. Honestly, I think their corset was just too tight, but whatever. I'm just probably the same ones that try to shimmy down the shaft.
Or it's the hashtag dramatic bitch that we're all aware of. It's not about you.
Oh, so wow. Just like fucking wow. Okay, so now city and state governments are fairly diligent in ensuring that annual public elevator inspections are carried out and reported properly. However, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, CPSC, is not authorized to regulate elevators as it does other products such as automobiles or personal equipment. So, elevators and elevator parts are not subject to federal accident inspections or part recalls. Here,
Fan-fucking-tastic.
without a requirement of public parks recalls due to defect, there is little widely available printed info regarding elevator defects. When an elevator or even escalator, which we didn't even get into,
I don't like them any more than I like fucking elevators. I use the stairs.
so the product is identified by the manufacturer as having a design defect. It is only required to send out a product letter by certified mail to equipment owners. Thus, the press and public rarely find out about such faulty products until deaths or injuries have occurred.
Goody. And you wonder why I get on this podcast and preach about regulation.
This is, at this point, when I'm reading this is what I found early on in my research of this. And I was like, and now I am eternally freaked out forever.
Yeah, because basically any ass clown is telling you, yeah, that elevator's good. Go with it.
And I just want to reiterate here, it said that this is only for public elevators. This is not impersonal or anything like that. Because I read, and I didn't even get into the story of this sweet couple, old lady that had, old money and had an elevator in their home, and they got dressed up fancy to go to a dinner for their anniversary, and it faltered and defected and stopped. It didn't drop. They just stayed there, couldn't open the doors, and they didn't install a phone or any sort of security measure. So they basically sat in there with no air and suffocated to death together. So, I mean,
now I will never take another private elevator in the state of Texas.
Sorry, but this is the thing. And what we do know, what is known, okay, is that about 27.
What are you, a Dothraki? It is known. So what is known?
This is according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics and the CPSC, okay? About 27 people are killed in elevator accidents each year. But it does not report this, which does not report on injury and death associated with elevators, like other elevators. Injuries from elevators affect about 10,200 people per year, with the majority of these accidents being related to door malfunction, carriage misalignment with floors, and passenger safety vulnerabilities. The U.S. Labor Department Census of Fatal Occupational Injuries reports that half of the annual elevator-related fatalities occur in repair or maintenance workers who service elevators, or people who use elevators as part of their employment, such as in an office building. Of those, half of the fatalities result from falls into the shaft. In the occupational related deaths category, 53% occur during installation or repair, 17% occur during work in the shaft or car, and 30% occur during performance of work adjacent to but not on board the elevator. For passengers using elevators while not at work, such as in apartment buildings, almost half of the deaths were due to falls in the elevator shaft, and the other half occurred as a result of being caught between the elevator and the shaft wall. The underlying causes of the fatal incidents may be due to one of several defects or malfunctions that I listed in the very beginning. So, now I, again, could go on and on with the number and the dates and craziness of accidents involving elevators that resulted in injury or death, but that would make this episode too long.
Hashtag too long, folks, and none of us want to be there. Can I just say, I worked in an exactly 2-story building that there was an elevator. It was one of the most pretentious, like glass-faced modernized community banks in all of West Texas. But if I had a issue with anybody that was upstairs, I can just quickly take the 15 and 15 steps. But I always just take the steps. They're right there. Yeah, and so many people would take that elevator, and I saw the ass clowns that would come in and look at that elevator every 6 months.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is I am that ass clown that decided, oh, 3 stories up, I'm going to take the elevator. But now after this, I'm going to think twice about taking the elevator. Now, time to get your steps in, get those hammies warmed up, because stairs, here I come. Talk about, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck the gym. Just go find stairs.
Exactly. Go full stairs with it, folks. Do it all day. That is, oh my God, you have horrified me. But you also know my particular aversion to an elevator, and I know there are some situations when I am wearing formal dress and 4-inch heels that I'm not going to be able to take 15 flights of stairs. So thank you for permanently putting me off being an elevator. You know what? I'm just going to suck it up.
Put your flats in your purse, girl. Seriously, switch out your shoes and climb those stairs, because
I'll do it barefoot like a champ, even in this day of COVID. Watch me take them off and now do 15 flights of stairs. If anything, I'm going to look thinner in the dress, right? Because I've really done the core work on the way up to the event.
Maybe some sweating when you get there. But like you said, at least with COVID restrictions, they only allow 2 people in an elevator at a time. But still, I can recall trying to squeeze in the elevator just so that I wouldn't have to wait on the next one. But I'm not going to, nope, never again. Not doing that.
Nope, I'm good. Y'all go ahead. But then there is the sweating, like you talked about, the makeup situation. I will take a pause when I get tired, go to the bathroom on that floor. If that's not open to me, I'm going to sit down, regroup, let any potential sweat beads stop. I'm going to hold that makeup, and I'm going to hold that fierceness, because you know what? I'm damn sure not dying in an elevator. Ugh.
Or getting stuck. So many incidents I recalled of people getting stuck in elevators for 70 plus hours. And surviving it. You know what I mean? There's been instances where one guy didn't, because he got anxious and overworked, and he tried to open the doors, and he ended up falling through and down to his death. Seriously, man, you made the mistake of getting in there. So sorry. No, I know, I'm just teasing, but still, after this, seriously, after doing the reading the countless and trying to be like, all right, which one am I going to talk about? Because there was just too many.
And I love that you chose this, because you know that that's what I always say to you. Oh, hold on. Somebody's trying to get me to ride an elevator, and they're out of their fucking minds. I'm going to go ahead and climb the stairs. I will speak to you in the stairwell.
Yeah. And honestly, I will gladly accept a staircase from this moment on.
Yeah, don't do those walkways. Don't do those elevators, folks. Just be safe.
If it looks pretty, it's probably dangerous. I've learned anything from architecture in the last
aesthetically, if it looks great, it's probably not safe.
At this point. Oh shit.
If it looks like Raphael, or maybe even let's go to the Bernini period. If it looks like Bernini sculpted it out of nothing, don't ride in it. Don't walk across it.
Just admire it from afar and walk away. But we did
exactly.
It, Jack. We made it through. You made it through.
Yes, we are on the other side.
And I really picked out ones that weren't too, but still, you know what I mean. So
No, I got your vibe, and God knows our listeners know exactly how drunk I am. Just by the way, listeners, since you all send me things, what I need is to improve my t-shirt collection. I do not need random artifacts from around the world. As much as I appreciate it, and as much as I enjoy that, also, you know, I'll read your scripts. That's great. But I'm not a person to get in touch with about that. So, just send me t-shirts if you're going to send anything. And I think Bethany would respond the same way. Send us weird t-shirts.
can I get on that train? I'm a size medium. I can DM you my address. You're welcome.
Yeah, she'll get on the chain. Send us both that shit.
I'm a huge social media person, so I can promote your t-shirts. You're welcome.
Yeah, we'll both get on it. I'm terrible about promoting anything, including my own podcast. I just talk my nonsense on social media, as you all know. But if you're going to send us anything, listeners, we would prefer a nonsensical t-shirt.
For real.
Just FYI, for all of you that send shit to us, please t-shirt.
Please. Can
We
it?
prefer that. Don't send us like the weird shit from some chaos magic ritual that we're never ever going to do. Which is what a lot of you send, and I respect that deeply. But just, maybe a t-shirt, whatever it is what you do.
Speaking, if you want to support us and like us, go check us out on Patreon. Because like I said earlier, everything we've got on there right now is for free, but it won't be forever.
As we get our shit together and what we're going to appropriate and approach. Right now it is free, but that also helps out the podcast. Also go to bigheadsmedia.com, hit the history tab. We're the first thing.
Yes, for merch.
We like to call it being a hashtag big deal, but then again, we also assume there's some alphabetical order issues there in and of itself. But go to Big Heads Media, hit the history tab. There we are. First thing you're going to see.
You can hear us anywhere, like we said, podcast. You can search Body Count or listen to us on our website at bodycounthistorypod.com. Do us a favor. And Jessica, what do we do? Just tell what? Tell one person.
Just one person. I know a lot of you listen. I see my numbers, and I also see my download numbers, and yet none of you seem to communicate it to your friends. So I ask you, tell one person, I love these crazy two, hoe bags that show up week after week and do this insane nonsensical podcast with the only historical marker being someone died, and you're into it.
Yes.
I know you all listen to those true crime podcasts. Like, if you do away with the element of like crime in 20th century and you just, if you're just in it for a body count, we gotcha.
Yes. And you can follow us and the show on Twitter and Instagram at Body Count Pod. And you can follow us for news and little tidbits and all this stuff. I just want to say real quick, you can find me on Twitter. Everybody knows on Twitter at Bethany Skelton 5. But I am now on Instagram at Bethany Skelton 5. Woohoo! The same tag. So either way you type Bethany Skelton, you will find me on either one of those sites. I have figured out how to do it, and it was available, and I was like, hell yeah, it's mine.
There we are. We're finally at Bethany Skelton 5.
Exactly. And Jessica, do your speech on how people can find you.
people could find me on Twitter and Instagram. We're not Facebookers. We don't want to get drawn into any QAnon horseshit on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook, but it's for different reasons.
Yeah, it's for lame ones. So find us at Instagram, or me particularly Instagram and Twitter. It's going to be Jessica B as in Bravo, Manor, spelled like the house, not the behavior. Jessica B Manor on Twitter and Instagram. Bethany, what a fantastic backwards body count by you.
Gosh, thank you very much. And that does it. That's it. I'm done. We'll be back next week.
We're hashtag done. We're hashtag baked. We're hashtag drunk. It is what it is. So, guys, we will see you next week. As always, it was fucking fantastic. Are you ready to do? Can we do our bye simultaneously?
You were like, you're fantastic. Of course I was. Hair flip.
You're fantastic. Oh, good for you. Good for her. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Bye.